What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another hot episode of the POPcast. My name is Miss Cosmo, with you every single week as I am. Yes. And today I am hanging out with my homie, Super for one baby.
It's Mochi for one baby. Please say the baby.
What up, what up?
Chilling. Welcome to another hot episode.
Yes, indeed. And today we are joined by the ever so fabulous, the glamorous, calls himself Given Winfrey on his off days.
I don't. Mental Pout calls me that. I don't. You guys do that now.
Hold on.
Um.
Just, you need to speak into the
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's easier.
Cool.
So, he calls himself Given Winfrey on his off days.
No, you guys gave me that name.
What?
You gave me that. I think you know what it is. Just because I'm the wise friend doesn't mean you can like it. It just means sometimes I have it together.
Oh my gosh.
They call you when they've got problems and say, Given, what do you think?
No, but they don't want to hear the advice. They just go, "Ooh, Given Winfrey."
But he's also coined it now. Sometimes on the weekend he'll say, okay, well, it's Given Winfrey time.
Oh no, it's true. Because when you guys are going tripping and you're saying something, I'm like, nah, guys, let's reverse.
It's really
and then I'll say something like, okay, what he's trying to say to you is.
All right, so Given is joining us. Well, he is a producer on Metro FM, a producer on Mansfi's podcast as well.
Yes,
but over and above that, he is very famous for his Breakaway Note.
Yes,
Yes.
Breakaway Note and reality TV star. Please.
Yes,
Excuse
reality
me.
TV star. Sorry. How could I forget? Excuse us. Man. So big ups to you. Thank you so much for joining us, Given.
Anytime for you guys. I've
Yes.
been watching this for forever and I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us.
And I think it's perfect timing for you to be here, obviously, because it is Pride Month, but we are going to jump into a little bit more about that in a moment. Today, we are shooting out at the very brand new, very, auspicious venue. It's called Vibes on Main, and it just opened this past week.
Yeah.
And I think everybody who actually came through for the opening really has good things to say about it. A very successful first opening of the first weekend, and of course we are showing you just a bit of a cutaway of what the vibe looks like. But it's a very beautiful venue. I love how they revamped it.
It is, absolutely. And of course, it is run by our good man, Jazzy Q.
Yes.
And whoever his other business partners are. But what's most important is that you'll catch more about that in another episode of Pop Radio, where we will have Jazzy, and he goes into a little bit more detail about the Vibes on Main. So you guys can come check them out for yourselves. What is it? Weinberg bordering Alexandra?
Yes, it is. I mean, it wasn't that episode that aired last week. So we
Last
had
week's episode, sorry.
Yes. Hey.
I thought I was wondering, did we drop that episode yet? We 100% dropped it.
Wasn't sure. We did drop it last week. We spoke about Vibes on Main. The episode is up, so you can go and check it out just to hear a bit more about Jazik's story. But of course, the venue is amazing. It used to be Junk Park, just for some people who need some GPS. But we've moved on from that name now. So please make sure you mention the vibes that are on Main. Beautiful venue, as I mentioned, and I love how they've upgraded it. You've also walked through. What do you think of the
It's
venue?
looking very nice. I'm glad it's changed from Junk Park to Vibes on Main.
Yeah.
It sounds nice. If I say to people, guys, I'm going to Vibes on Main.
I'm going to Vibes. Come join me for a vibe.
Oh, but when I get to Junk Park, I even have to change the accent. I say, "Yeah, Junk Park."
And I think about Junk Park, the name is associated a lot with the food. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, like, I remember when I first heard about it, I'm like, everyone's going to, like, eat. But it seems like there's a groove at this thing. And I learned it was the groove.
Yeah.
And so it was but Vibes on Main, like you said, there's that little ring to it. You're like,
Yeah.
there's Vibes on Main. You know?
Yeah.
And we'll be part of the Vibes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. We'll be part of the vibes, indeed. Come here, pop a few bottles on the weekend. But as mentioned, it is Pride Month, and we are celebrating our friends of the LGBTQI community. I don't want to miss out a letter. Am I missing something?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
Actually, some people want to be they want to tease and they'll say the rainbow, the flag, whatever.
Yes.
It's fine. I'm starting to own that. I'm like, it's fine. We are the rainbow.
Really?
community. We're beautiful. We're colorful.
Yes,
Yeah.
but are there certain terms that people shouldn't mention, shouldn't necessarily mention or try to stay away from? Because I do think it is a very sensitive topic, and that's why we want to at least be able to highlight it, because we try to be as sensitive as we can on the show, but we also might not be as knowledgeable as we should be.
Look, it's one of those things. Obviously, when it's a lived experience for you, then you're able to understand a lot more terms and things like that. But there's also things that I don't even understand myself.
Oh, really?
I think the bigger thing, or don't know, I think the bigger thing is people being open to learning and not being mean and cruel. It's always how you're saying it versus what you're saying more than anything. I feel like there's room for, sometimes some people say things out of turn because they just don't know. But if they're open to being educated, I think that's the most important part.
And it should be that way. Also, if somebody is telling you how to address them, I don't see what the point you should fight. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So you're saying it's definitely right. It's one way if somebody's trying to be like, trying to figure out how to address somebody. If, for example, you don't know someone's pronouns and you want to ask, I feel like asking is chilled. Or if somebody corrects you and says, oh no,
exactly.
This is how you address me. And then you're like, oh, thank you, no problem. You know,
That's
I can just, like, literally, it's a full stop to me, like how to address people. There's no, and if it's something that you don't understand, I believe asking, you can also ask in a respectful way. But it's when you're being aggressive towards people and being mean, or no, I'm going to call you this, I'm going to call you that, because that's what I choose to call you, then that's the problem that I think we're dealing with in society.
100%. It's very clear when someone is being hateful and when someone is trying to learn.
Yeah.
Those two things are very different.
One thing I do have to applaud our country for is being so open and accepting of people of the LGBTQI community, especially because in a continent like ours, where being homosexual or bisexual or whatever the case may be is usually shunned upon, where people there's laws against it, and there's a lot of war and things about it in different countries. But in South Africa, I do have to applaud the fact that it is very open. You are allowed to be legally married in this country, which I think is a big shout out, especially for us celebrating Pride Month. What is it about this month or this year that you think has kind of progressed for South Africa?
I think, first of all, in South Africa, really game one, and you can just
we're not.
Obviously, there's still communities and pockets and people who are still not understanding it, and they're still fighting it, and then that becomes the issue. So, but at least in terms of a legal perspective, we are protected 100%. That's great. I think in terms of the media in South Africa and the media space, I'm here right now. In other countries, that does not even happen at all, right? I think from a media perspective, whether it's on radio, whether it's on television, you're seeing couples, you're seeing, everything is being treated in a particular way. And even with like a Somizi had a wedding special. We had a gay wedding special in this country. That doesn't happen anywhere else, right? And people were not even watching it to see a gay wedding. They were watching it to really just see a wedding of this big superstar. And that's where we're coming into. We're getting to a place where gay people can just simply exist without question.
I think it's also important to stay with raising awareness about tolerance in our society. It's something we shouldn't take for granted, because as much as we're saying that there's laws that protect, those laws also themselves need to be protected, because we know that everywhere else around the world, some of these laws are getting reversed. You know what I'm saying? People's rights are being taken away. So as much as we have those laws in South Africa, I think as a nation, the importance of constantly teaching acceptance and fighting back is to make sure that the entire community of our country is actually involved in what you call in understanding exactly what the big fight is.
100%.
Because it just takes one person to wake up tomorrow and suddenly people's rights are being taken away because society doesn't speak about it or engage in it, then nobody fights anymore. You know what I'm saying? So we can regress. So it's important to celebrate those laws, but also protect them.
And that's what I love about the media space in this country, is that we're doing that, right? You're growing up in an environment where you see gay couples on television, you hear them on radio, you're seeing queer people doing their thing, and that makes it so normal that it's just being adapted into society. That's why I look at all the young queer people who are coming up now, and they're so free and so open, and they're having so much fun, and it's because they really grew up in an environment that said you can be who you are, and that's 100%. That's what it is. We need to still highlight it and push so that we protect those spaces. Yeah,
that's beautiful, man. I love, like I said, I applaud South Africa for being at least more open-minded than our other African countries, and I only just hope that the conversation can spread throughout the continent to kind of open it up to other world leaders as well, and just to say, yo, these are people as well. They've got feelings, they've got emotions. They're just like me and you. They just have different preferences, and we don't all wake up the same. Sometimes you eat cheese and I don't eat cheese. That's a preference. You decide what you want to be and how you want to live your life. I think everybody deserves that freedom, Absolutely. All right, so jumping into also what's hot and happening within South Africa as well. Shaka Ilembe has premiered this past weekend, the first episode. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to actually catch it. But my man Muchi here, he's got the lowdown on the Zulus.
I did watch. I know both of you are saying that you haven't watched it yet, so I'm not gonna try and give you any spoilers. As much as, of course, you know the greater story of Shaka and whatnot.
I think my problem, if I have to be honest, I don't like adverts. I'll catch it on catch up.
Here's the beautiful thing: on Zanzi Magic, when it was playing, 0 adverts.
Really?
So I don't know. How they won that fight?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because I'm guessing half the fucking viewership of the. Of DSTV or whatnot was tuned in to watch it yesterday, you know what I mean? So, but in terms of firstly, execution, very well executed. You know what I'm saying? The story is shot very nicely, as you would expect, The story, how it's being told, so far, so good. You know what I'm saying? I'm enjoying the pacing of it. There's actors, really good cast, who are actually putting in most of them are putting in really dope performances, but I know there's always preferences as to who you think is doing better and whatnot. Leave that to each viewer. Yeah, there are only a few things that I was looking, because I went in there very like, man, I hope they don't mess this up. I hope they don't make it look like they shot Shaka, like literally just in the hood or some shit like that. You know what I mean? I went there with a lot of shit, because we know how we do in this country, if we're being honest. Like, sometimes we were excited for certain projects, they're built up, they're advertised, and then they drop, and you're like, it's just another telenovela that's just dropped. You know what I mean?
Hey, please
like,
can it not?
You know what I'm saying? So I think it's very hard for us to shake off that telenovela spirit in this country. But so far, I feel like they're doing well. The one thing that I have a comment on that I just knew off the bat that this is the one thing that I'm going to find weird. It's always how we do makeup in this country. And it's not even a Shaka Ilembe problem. It's just everywhere. It's like we don't know how to do, for example, poverty makeup. You know what I'm saying?
What's poverty makeup?
Poverty makeup is when you're trying to show a poor person. You know what I'm saying? If you're somebody who's like a street kid. If I was a street kid playing in it, somehow you look at me and be like, I know this is Sipo, man. You haven't made me believe that this is a street kid. You haven't made me believe that this is a homeless person. You haven't made me believe like this is the 80s. So that's the only thing I'm saying. The makeup is too well done, and there could be things that you can sell a little bit better, where you make things a little bit more grunge. You give me that feeling. Oh, these people are back in the cut. They're living on top of a mountain, but they look flawless.
Isn't that a costume thing?
There's costume as well, but I'm just saying there's those little things where sometimes we're a little bit too perfect in how we're trying to present the show itself, that we forget Uguti, she's not supposed to be so perfect. And even trying to make something imperfect is an art itself. You know what I'm saying? Costume design is very important. Like, tell me something, when you look, whether you've watched Game of Thrones or not, or Lord of the Rings, or those shows, right? But when you watch them, you believe, you're like, yeah, no, this is definitely 3,000 years ago. You know what I mean?
Also, they're on fleek. Are the brows fleeking?
Yeah. Like if I saw a mug and bean cup in that show, I'll be like, I believe it's there also. Because that's the only thing. Like something about shooting in certain eras.
It's that the makeup has to be in character, right? It has to be in that way. Like when Charlize is in Monster, you believe she's that girl.
They're not trying to make Charlize look pretty in Monster.
Yeah. Charlize not. I think what happens a lot of the times on sets, what will happen is, from what I've heard, some of the actors will actually go to the makeup artist and say, "No man, kopa plashing and the makeup artist is like, "No, actually, that's not the character. You're not supposed to look pretty. You're supposed to look like." The actor, the character at the time. So if you are in that space, then you need to look like it. Simple.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's those small little things. Like I said, they can nitpick, and I don't feel like I'm nitpicking, to be quite honest. I'm just trying to say, when you're trying to watch the entire thing, you want to watch the entire thing. So certain things kind of don't add or take away from your viewing experience, where it's like, I want to be in this world and forget about the world around me. But like I said, the story of Shaka is a very popular story that South Africans love. And on that front, and how they're telling the story, and even there's some little CGI moments, and even those were like well executed. There's that show on Showmax that I speak very passionately about called Blood Sums.
I remember you hated this show.
It's just, I don't know what was going on in Blood Sums, from the CGI.
Because of you, I didn't watch it.
Let me tell you something. I want you to go watch one episode.
Okay.
Because there's a scene in there about 20 minutes into Blood Psalms where it's like supposed to be this epic on the mountain. They're fighting against each other. It is by far, without any exaggeration, the worst fight scene in human history ever shot on camera. You know what I mean? Okay. And I'm not trying to be mean. I think if you watch it, you'll be like, oh, I thought people was being weird. I see, you know what I mean? So there's things like that where you're watching, you're like, people aren't even trying. But what you can tell you, Shaka Ilembe, is that there's a very real effort and you can see it. And because I personally, like I said, really, really like the story of Shaka, and actually was looking forward to the story itself and seeing it all over again. You know what I'm saying? I remember seeing the one that they just put out on Netflix for the first time as a kid, and I was like, man, I loved it then, even if it was a bit scary and shit. But
man. But I think that's the thing about maybe even with South African television, is about how do we depict it, what is, and it's also always kind of boils down to budget. I mean, you're speaking about even about the makeup being whatever the issue may be, but maybe there is no training for costume design or costume makeup that can kind of take people, because also all of this kind of boils down to training. How good is your editing? How good is your makeup? How good is your directing? How good is your acting? And I think when you hire the right team, you'll get the product that you want. But when you hire because you want to cut a budget, then it becomes very obvious.
Cut the budget. This is bomb production.
I know, and the budget was big for this.
But it's not Universal Pictures big. It's not Paramount Pictures big.
But it was big.
It is.
Compared to what Mzansi Magic pulls out, this was a big budget.
I imagine, but I was about to say that. We don't have specialists for CGI and things like that here.
And
so when you have to hire those guys from Hollywood, they're coming and they want a lot of money. And so that changes the game a little bit. So I guess it's also a thing of us sort of growing more and more in terms of making productions like that. So I want to, one step at a time. Starting like Blood Psalms, and then
they learn from their lesson.
And then Shaka got a little better. So it's probably just going to keep improving, and the people are going to gain the skills and they'll get better and better.
I guess I'm being a bit hard on this because, like I said, this bomb production who made this, and we know all the other stuff that they've done. And I could critique here and there, but also we could just talk about like a Yuzo. The same team that did this is the same guys that created Yuzo.
They really had high school makeup.
Yeah, I'm saying when you watch Yuzo,
yes,
exactly. When you watch Yuzo, you're like, I'm at super tilla high here.
Yes,
this shit is real. You know what I'm saying? When you look around, this is the school, this is the hood. These kids are kids from the hood. The way that they talk, the way that they act. You know what I'm saying? When they're in their homes, you're like, this is the crib. You know what I'm saying? So there's those things where I'd be like, and I know when you try to take it back in the day, you must create this whole world. So in this show, of course, they had to build these villages where some of these people are actually going to stay because it's like, we got to make it as realistic as possible. And even those villages, like, they look a little too dope, you know what I mean?
Really? I was about to say, if your only critique is the makeup, then I think it's a good show.
No, so this, like I said, the small things that I can critique. Well, to me, the things that I said are supposed to add to the viewing experience of a show like this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So those are the things that I can be like, and each person will say their own thing. So even when it comes to the actors, people are like applauding these people and be like, this person is doing so great, and then like, this person's not hitting that mic. And then people who speak Zulu fluently, like some of these people sound like they're from Umlazi and not like, you know what I'm saying, they're not speaking that deep traditional Zulu.
And that's a very particular thing, especially for Zulu people. And I know that they can literally go to the mountain and back talking about how the Zulu needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
You could easily find yourself as an actor maybe from Soweto, and they won't want you in their show because Soweto Zulu and Durban Zulu and rural Zulu are completely three different Zulus.
And the accent is
it's
hard.
all in the accent. It's in the words. It's in the language. It's in the even the way that you enunciate certain words will definitely play a part. So if they're complaining about people from Durban, then you can imagine if they were going to recruit somebody from Soweto to try and play that role. So I think it's important that they did cast the right people, and I love the cast as it is because a lot of those people are originally from the KZN, except for Lemo, who seems to be playing the main actor, which is Shaka. We haven't seen him on screen as yet because obviously it's still the beginning of the show. But I'm interested to see how he actually portrays him because everybody's just like, how are you getting a Tswana guy to actually play Shaka? Because
but I'm saying if we were watching Universal production, those actors would get it right though. They're not leaving set and say, hey my guy, you still sound like you're from Compton, let's go.
Like Tuso had to get a vocal coach for her to actually play that show, the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, Damson Idris, he was playing Snowfall. He's a guy from the UK. You believe that this guy might be from Compton. Yes, you can pick up when you listen after a long time. There's a little bit, but it's not to a point where you're like, this nigga is British.
It's like an Idris Elba. We didn't know he was British for the longest time. And then he started speaking, like, oh, it's actually a Brit. Lady Gaga was playing an Italian on House of Gucci. She sounded Italian. So that's not even a thing, right? Just because someone is Tswana. I guess the difference is it's not an accent because now you're learning a whole different language altogether. I just wonder how quickly you can learn the language and the dialect and shoot.
Hey, as an actor, you're supposed to have those ranges. So then I was have to talk about, are we saying we've maxed out the range of the actors that we have? This is the best they can do.
No, because someone other day said Vati Swandaga should actually play Rosemary Ndlovu if they make a movie. But obviously she's Xhosa, so how's he going to learn Tsonga in like 3 months?
Tricky, but all we can
I'm
do...
saying there are because now we can go now into another conversation about where this is going. Maybe those actors do exist that can pull those things off, but maybe they're not the most popular actors. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's the unknowns who are like, this is my Zulu I speak from my, you know what I'm saying? I can pull that off, and then you'd be like, yeah, but then you're not Nomsa, you know what I'm saying? And you're not this guy A and this guy, you're not this legendary person that Obama's worked with for the past 20 years.
100.
So the thing is, are the actors there? I think they are there, but now we're talking about opportunities between people who can actually execute shit. Oaks must come for auditions. I don't care who you are. Everyone come in Sipo, come in Tromla Dandala. All of you follow me line. You're all gonna say this script so we can find out who can act this thing better. If it's the kid at the back who nobody knows, that's his role.
And I think that's what they did with this one because they wouldn't have cast Lemogang if he wasn't actually good for the role. So I'm gonna trust in the fact that what he did in that audition was what they were looking for, and all we can do is sit and watch and wait for it to come together. You know what I mean? Jumping into the music space, this past week we did see that Ricky Rick's Foundation was launched this past week thanks to his family, Temba as well as Bianca. They've also just been speaking about the foundation, but also a song that they dropped this past week. And apparently the song has been created using AI. And people are very on the fence about the use of AI and how they feel about it, whether it takes away from the creative and the originality from actual artists, and whether that's something that we want to get into. I'm a little bit on the fence about it personally, because I want to be able to to at least get the actual emotion from the original artist. I want to ask them how they were feeling, what they were going through when they wrote that specific song, when they even recorded it, because sometimes they don't write their own songs. But just the recording, you have to be in a certain emotion for you to be able to get into a song like that, to perform it. So I understand what they were trying to do with it, especially for the foundation's perspective. I think I'm still not sold on AI. How are you feeling about it?
I'm going to hit you with a given Winfrey.
Yes, let's go.
I feel like music is a very spiritual thing.
Yes.
It's a very spiritual thing. So the minute there's a computer making a song, that's gone. It speaks to exactly what you're saying about the emotion. So for me, against it. Like, let's get into actual music being made by actual creators and artists. And I mean, some of these songs I've heard, the AI ones, I've heard a few Drake songs and whatever. They sound okay, you know, they're not bad, but it's like, there's, you can even pick it up sometimes that this is not Drake. It's not like, it's not in that space. So I think, let's use AI for other things, man. Not for you doing your school assignments, but other things.
You know, Kevin Winfrey.
You know, Bill Gates is saying that this AI era that we just got into now of chat GPT and whatnot, and all the millions that are going to come after it. He's saying this is the biggest technological advancement since the internet was invented. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so there's a big revolution going on with AI, much bigger than you can imagine if you're at home and you're thinking, people are just writing assignments or sentences or a song. There's, you know what I'm saying? It goes into everything that we do. You know what I'm saying? Now, the thing about that is that it's once we press play as a human society on something going forward, it just goes forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's adapt or die type situation. And then it's about how do we adapt to this thing that we clearly have to now live with. You know what I'm saying? That clearly is going to make people feel a certain type of way. Music at first also used to just be made by live instruments, and that's what people used to call that purist, and that's the real stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now we have all these electronic things that are made with synths. Now we've got it all the way to voice. You know what I'm saying? Where we can just manipulate people's voices. You can live on forever singing songs that you yourself would never have liked or whatnot. So on a basic level, I feel like, no, I don't particularly like any of the AI songs that I've heard, and I don't know how much AI they use in this particular Ricky song, because it sounds like there's maybe on the chorus or on the hook or whatnot.
Yeah, parts of it sounds real, because you must also remember that Ricky also recorded practically an entire album before he passed. So you could find that portions of it is actually his recording. I'm not sure. I'm just, assuming from this perspective, but it does sound like there's portions of it that does sound real, and it could come from those verses that he had recorded for the album, and then maybe on the chorus, I think it sounds a little bit like, okay, that might be the AI portion, because obviously it's reiterating the tweet that he had posted before he left. So this, I don't know. I think it's a mixture of both.
And it's dangerous because we're here trying to debate. We don't even know which parts are AI and which parts, So that's the problem. That's the problem here now. And now we're like, how do we feel about this? And I agree on what you're saying. Yeah. I do want to hear a person's voice, or I want somebody to put passion into the music that they write. What doesn't matter what it is, from hip hop, rap, whatever. You know what I mean? Hip hop, rap, kwaito, amapiano, it doesn't matter. You wanna, and especially when they're gone, because I go listen to Ricky's music, you know what I'm saying? You might feel a type of way about any other artist that you miss, and you be like, you listen to their actual voice, and you have that nostalgia and all that spiritual connection to their art, and it's very, very tricky. And I guess that's why the Academy for Music has added a new rule that the music that they accept has to be recorded by a human voice. Like they have to make sure that AI songs aren't being submitted and whatnot. So, and that's the world we're living in, changing. Okay, maybe there might be a separate thing for AI voices that's going to be used, but already one organization is taking a stand to say, okay, by the way, we're actually not just a recording academy but of human beings.
Someone's take note.
Imagine now computers winning an award. Imagine that's going to be so.
You know
awkward.
what I mean? Like
it's similar to how I even felt about. Remember when they did the holograms? When they did the Tupac thing with the hologram, they tried that as well with Brenda Fassie. I just wasn't with it. I get the idea. I get you're trying to be creative. I get that you're trying to give us something that we don't have any longer. Sometimes things need to kind of be left alone.
Now we have load shedding, and I must bring back another artist sitting while you're on stage. You know what I'm saying? Now it's like Brenda's gone again. It's too much. You know what I mean?
The weird one was definitely when Kanye had Kim's dad, and then in the speech he's basically praising Kanye, and I was like, that sounds very Kanye.
That's
exactly what he did. Like, there was Rob Kardashian saying, this husband of yours is a great husband.
Kanye, we know you think you're a god, but no, my brother.
It's not very, like very this. Tricky, man. Because now, what is it? So AI can write it for you, record it for you, give you a beat, like submit it for you then.
Yes, just sit at home.
So we're moving into a very dangerous time. So unfortunately, we have to live with AI, basically is what I'm trying to say. And now it's like, how do we live with it?
It's going to have to, deregulation, right? I think one of the things I thought I was scared that people might start making music and claiming it's another artist's song. But luckily we have the internet. You can just Instagram and say this is not my song. Also, it'll be hard to upload it on a Spotify or an Apple Music anyway. So I think a lot of it will just pretty much just end on TikTok, and that's it, really.
Like Mirror, we're living in it now.
Please.
Every week is a new episode of Black Mirror.
We don't need
in
it.
real life.
We don't need it, please. But talking about awards and the Academy Awards, Grammys have actually now added an African award category to the Grammys for next year for submission for Afrobeats, Amapiano, Afro-tech, South African hip-hop, anything that, I assume is going to be, original to the African continent, it can now be submitted for this category, which I really think is dope for African music. I am a little bit on the fence about how vast it is, because now you're saying all of these genres now go for one award, which is tricky for me. I appreciate the inclusion of African music, but now I do feel that after this, maybe this one award, then they can start opening it up to them, say, okay, let's kind of diversify it, because every genre that they've mentioned,
everyone now, it's Risma Dlisa versus Jimmy Dludlu versus Asake versus Tuksinganga
versus Fela Kuti versus Zonke.
Everyone versus everyone.
So it's tricky, and then, which also kind of brings me back to a similar award, the BET nomination as well. The BET Awards also have the Best African Performance Award, which for me, I'm like, okay, cool, I appreciate the inclusion, not going to be mad at that, but all of these people that you are nominating are different genres. And if you were to bring it back to South Africa, we would characterize them in different genres at the Summers. So it also makes it difficult from that perspective, because now everybody's competing. And how do you then decide which is the best of the artists?
I guess it's like, a lot of the awards have categories like Best Male, Album of the Year, and that's a mixed category sort of mixed genre category. So already that sort of exists anyway in terms of judging it. I don't know usually how that point system works exactly, and who's like in a panel for Best Album of the Year. But I think they just take musicians who are just going to judge music, and you're like, okay, this is good, this is not, and you give it points, and then point system calculate, then here's number one.
I don't know how I feel about Questa going up against Burna Boy. Like, I don't know, it's not the same thing. Like,
it's not the same thing, but you're right in that it exists to an extent. So it's not a completely weird thing for us. I think what we're battling with now from Africa is because we basically, what we're saying, want them to recognize us individually. You know what I'm saying? We want the Grammys to give a best quiet. They want the Grammys to say give them a best Amapiano. The Grammys to give a best Afro beats or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Because like if you're gonna give a Grammy, and then we're expanding the Grammys into being a global music award show, which when it started, they were very focused on America, but because of course they sell music everywhere else around the world, and it's a global audience, of course they have to start little by little including. That's why the entire Latin Grammys on the side there, because their genre is that big. So I feel like maybe having literally an African Grammy, award show, because Africa is an entire continent. You know what I'm saying?
54 countries. Please, guys, we can't be in one category.
So I think everyone feeling like they want a chance to win a Grammy, and this doesn't give you that chance. It's the real thing. They're feeling with artists. Any artist will take a best African. Doesn't matter who you win it. You know what I'm saying? You'll be like, I've got a Grammy, full stop. But everyone who's entering it is feeling, I'm literally up against the continent. You know what I'm saying? Whatever genre that I'm making at any given time. So it's like, who's the hottest right now? And you think about maybe the top 10 hottest African artists, and you're thinking maybe they might be the ones who are frontliners. But then you think about the history of the Grammys, and that people coming left field that no one knew about have come in to like Soup Album of the Year, and it was like, who the hell is this guy?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So submissions and how they judge African music, and who's now on those panels to judge African music, it becomes the conversation. It's a great step forward, but as always, I guess the people are always going to be left a little bit unsatisfied and wanting more.
Like,
you know what I'm saying? So it's a good step forward, I guess, and people, I guess, make things more interesting, because now the artists are saying, okay, here's another genre for you guys to compete in and to submit for. So it gets African artists to maybe up whatever they release, the output of music. You know what I'm saying?
But it's even the judges. That's the thing we're not talking about, right? Who's actually judging these categories? Actually, like Best African, will it be actual people on the continent really judging this category?
It has to,
because it can't be. But to America, there you're in California and you're there saying, this piano song is nice, this one is not. That's just not going to work. I feel like that's also the other bigger question, is that who's actually judging this?
The same American judges that can't give Beyonce a best album. Now we must trust them with what? With piano now.
Exactly.
They don't even understand what people are saying. But to be fair, to be fair, we do have to at least give credit where it's due, because typically what the rest of the Africans would submit for the Grammys would be the best global music performance, which means you're going up against the rest of the world, not just Americans. So it would be anybody in the UK, in Japan, and in whatever the case may be in Europe. So now it's now focused on just Africa. So I think that was the necessity for them, was to say, okay, Africa's kind of doing their own thing outside of what is happening in Europe, outside of what's happening in Asia, outside of what's happening in Australia. Do you know what I mean? So I think from that perspective, it is helping to kind of zero in on the continent. But then maybe next year, then you say, okay, guys, we've given you the one award. After a year or two, give us more. Say maybe African dance, and then African hip hop, and then African Afro beats or something.
Actually, does any other continent have a category in the Grammys or under? Like, do they have a best South America? Europe?
Well, I mean, there's the Latin Grammys, as you mentioned.
But with everybody else, they fall under the world music situation.
Yeah, and that's it.
So, and that's where they get nominated, where we find the like the UK guys.
I guess it also speaks to the
against.
popularity of African music right now. That's more than the bigger thing, right? Because you're not getting a best Asian music, for example, category. Where I think they probably just would be K-pop, and that's kind of where it ends.
Yeah.
But K-pop is huge, man. So
Exactly.
I'd understand if they were fighting for a category just as much as the Africans are, man. K-pop is huge.
Absolutely. But I guess the biggest big up here is that exactly what you just said. Which it's African music. It seems to be highlighted and saying, which okay, we're noticing something big happening this side on a global scale. So I guess that's a big positive.
Yeah, man. And with the BETs, as mentioned, we've also got nominees from South Africa. Best International Act, Bobby Cooper, KO, and Uncle Waffles are taking the nominations for this year. So, yeah, man, who's your money on?
This category is best entertainer. I just want to be very clear. I like to.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry.
Best
Okay.
African entertainer.
Yeah, because that's like very different to best, like sort of being an artist and whatever. I feel like sometimes because you need to have like a lot of music on you and that sort of thing for that to like sort of be a thing. But in terms of entertainer, it's a very tough category. All these three people are extremely entertaining. I think Uncle Waffles definitely owned last year.
Yeah.
Say
Even
what you
this
will.
year.
Yeah, say what you will. But performance-wise, presence-wise, marketing, social media, she's just owning all of it. So why not?
Shout out.
I think so too. I think it's definitely, if we have to give it to anybody on that list, not that any the others are less deserving, but if you want to pick the top performer, top entertainer, the most highlighted artist spoken about, especially out of our country at the time, then it has to be that it's Waffles.
Yeah.
For me, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like in the end, it will be Waffles.
Why do you sound like you're conceding by saying, okay, well.
Right now, at this very date, if I was up against Uncle Waffles on a situation like this, it'd be very, very difficult. You know what I'm saying?
It is
like
hard.
You're shaking Coachella stages, Afro Nation stages. You can't come home.
I know it's so hard.
Yeah.
I remember. I think it was. It must have been like 3-4 years ago when they first had the DSTV Music Awards. When they had first started it, and they did the DJ category for the first year. I think it was the second year that they did the awards, and I was nominated for the best DJ category, but I was up against Black Coffee. So you know when you arrive, you're just like, I'm just here to take pictures, because I mean, it's one of those like you're mentioning with Uncle Waffles. Like, okay, it's it's nice to be nominated, but we know,
But you must let them. Don't play with me. I'm alongside Black Coffee. I must tell the other ones, hey Luna, I'm just looking at this guy.
I'm just here to wear the dress, do the red carpet, just to look pretty. That's what I was there for. I took the pictures, I sat at the back, it was nice.
Look, actually, the other artists definitely get on that flight, definitely go to LA.
Yes.
Meet all the other people, go to the parties.
I think the connection is
That's
very important.
That's the big part.
Yes.
But you might have to just.
Bobby Cooper was saying that. She's like, no, I'm on my way to go and listen when they announce it. I am not gonna hear from TV or whatever. I'm on this is my going away party. She's like, I'm on my way to my going away party to the BET Awards, and that's the attitude you need to have.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, you're not any less deserving. Because obviously you're like, I also worked.
Yeah.
So I'm in the running. So
that's why you're there.
Let's go. Okay, let's go head to head and let's see what happens on the day.
Yeah, shout outs, man. Well, the other person who's also nominated is KO, and he's also just been having such a great run for hip hop, and being able to maintain his music and to keep hip hop in the conversation after all of these years is something to marvel at, and something to also just commend him, because he constantly comes back with something hot. And of course, even with that song that he dropped, Rockabye featuring Dos, I think is just fire. People are loving it in the club as well. When you drop it, people are waiting for Dos's verse. They say, hey, don't change before Dos's verse comes through. So big ups to KO for being such a visionary with his music. But something that he did mention and he tweeted about this past week also is about how how there's no hip hop hits this year. There was a mention, I think, for the USA hip hop, where they mentioned that no hip hop album or song has hit number 1 in 2023. This is for the billboards.
Yeah.
And so that's unfound because there's always hip hop at number 1 at least once in the year. So it's also
dropped this year. It's June now. We haven't had a Drake.
It's for the first time in 30 years that there hasn't been a hip hop album at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. So
this
you
far
can
into
imagine
the year,
this far, and it's 6 months in. Like that's the first time in 30 years that hip hop is kind of seeing a bit of a decline. So I'm also kind of concerned about how this is maybe also going to become a trend for hip hop worldwide, because as we know, hip hop is a big thing in the States because that's where it originated. That's where the world kind of looks at for hip hop. And if the rest of the world is kind of gonna follow through, what does that even mean for the genre? Or where do you think also the disconnect is? For me personally, I would kind of say the disconnect is also kind of fitting in with the type of music that we're getting right now. You know, obviously, yes, we can have the history lesson about hip hop. At first was about, you know, speaking about people's rights or whatever. Yes, it kind of transformed into, you know, feel good music and that type of vibe. I think now it's sounding very like, if you're not like bouncing your head or in like in a mosh pit at a party or whatever the case is, then you're not really understanding music. It's sounding very like mumble rappy. And I think that's where the disconnect is, because it doesn't sound like music anymore. And I'm finding it difficult to even find songs that I enjoy to play because of that. And that's why you'll find a lot of hip hop DJs even now play old school music, because we're just like, but what is this shit that you guys are receiving, that you guys are bringing out now? We can't even play this because no one connects to it. And I think that's kind of what's happening globally.
Yeah, I think everyone is making TikTok music.
And
especially in hip hop.
TikTok, yes,
let's get a cute little beat, let's pop it, whatever, and we'll make another song a few years from now, that sort of thing. And no one is making albums as well. That's another thing. That's why there hasn't been an album. I mean, when was the last hip hop album you really kind of remember?
Yeah.
If that means if Kendrick is not dropping, if Drake is not dropping, it's over. Like, that can't be the situation.
Yeah.
I think it's that we're all just doing TikTok music. I mean, there's a song, even the KO song that you mentioned now, for example, really enjoyed, really liked the song. But even today I heard it and I remember thinking to myself, I don't know if I'll be listening to the song a year from now. Like, I'll have the same reaction a year from now. So it's a nice song for now, and we're gonna have a good time at multiple parties. But I don't know if it's the kind of music that, you know, years from now I'll hear it and I'll be like when KO made a Karakara, for example. That was that kind of song. When they made music with Tear Gas as well. Those songs, till this day, I'm still able to listen to and really enjoy. That song sounds more very like it's a song for the moment. And we're making a lot of songs for the moment.
Yeah, I think people, when they look at a lot of hip hop artists, some of them transitioning to pop artists and making a lot of popular music is probably part of the reason why hip hop itself, maybe even globally now, doesn't know what its identity is anymore. The hard rappers don't know if this is a good time to be hard, because you know what I'm saying, it's not actually. People are talking about their feelings. So the hard rappers are sitting there going, my music is not gonna bang, because people are putting emotion into music, and
but that's what music is. You must give emotion.
Exactly. No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, I get hip hop has its own problems in terms of like it's become a lot more. There's a lot of sub-genres to hip-hop that exist right now. It's very poppy and like that. And the artists themselves, it feels like you see what you're saying about Kendrick is very important. Like, Oaks come, they release their project, they do the tour, and then he's gone for 4 years. Exactly. You know what I mean? So it seems like when all the top 10 hip-hop artists aren't busy dropping music, everybody else doesn't know what to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So I guess there's definitely many factors around why hip-hop. I don't think it's one specific thing, but pop music being very the way that it is, what's happening online and TikTok and people, albums, what do you call those labels? Because every artist will tell you right now, my label is telling me to make music for TikTok. Exactly. Big artists, small artists, everyone is like, but can you make something, just even one track in there that's gonna get people, you know, like excited on TikTok to help promote yourself. So I feel like hip hop is being has been left flat-footed in that respect. That its own identity is maybe is being reinvented right now, and I believe hip hop is definitely not dead, not here or globally, but pop music is definitely on like high octane 100%. Right now.
I want to say and that's the bigger thing, right? There's a difference between getting into a studio and wanting to make music and getting into a studio and wanting to make a hit. When you get into studio wanting to make a hit, that's usually where you're going to fail, because your focus is on what will people like right now and whatever, instead of just, let me just follow, again, Kevin Renfrey, let me just follow my heart. Let me follow the inspiration and let the music come out that way. And in terms of the pop thing, I mean, the biggest, even, I don't know if you heard the new Doja last week. Is it Appreciation? It's not Appreciation. she dropped a new track last week,
Yeah.
but she raps a lot, like very
I
hard
did
on
hear
that
that.
one.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
she did say she's going straight into like hip hop.
Yeah,
now,
she's gone like, but it's still very pop. That hook is classic pop as it goes. But it's because of that's sort of what her record labels also, I guess, demands. And the problem is, get into that studio, follow your heart.
Yeah.
That's where the music is gonna come.
100%. It's definitely like we've mentioned this so many times on here about music needs to be organic, because if it's organic for you, then people can feel
100%.
the emotion, and that's why AI is so difficult to attach to, because there's no organic feeling that we are trying to connect with you.
Yeah.
So definitely we need more organic music that's coming out so that we can also kind of appreciate it. But I do think what you mentioned about people aren't releasing albums is also a little bit of an issue because of the high stream rate. People are just like, yo, I'm dropping 4 songs, that's it. Whether you consider it an album or you consider it an EP, you consider it whatever the hell you want to consider it, the music is out there, you take it as is. And that's the disconnect I think that's also happening. People are not putting out bodies of work, they're putting out singles to say, I want a gig in the summer and this is what I'm giving you, take it or leave it. It's
like when a designer goes in, if at Versace they want to do the show for the spring summer, whatever, they think about the entire collection, every detail, every jacket, every dress, every skirt, whatever. Same thing with an album. If you're doing a body of work, then you're able to really focus on the music and say, what story am I telling from beginning to end? If you listen to Beyonce
yes.
On Renaissance, the whole album is a story. Everything from beginning to end, all the songs just make sense. And she said herself that she made this album. She said I think from 2 albums ago already, she said she's in the era where she's just making music for herself. She's making music that she enjoys, and that's it.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I you know what? And that's exactly why she will continuously be the queen.
Yeah.
Because you connect with it, and it's not, because we can also say there's some songs that Beyonce we were like, my sister, here's this one. Lemonade for me wasn't the album, if I have to be very honest. But I can then come back and say, Renaissance, you've got me back. You know what I mean? So and it's about that connection. It's about, are you doing what the labels want, or are you doing what the people want? Are you doing what you want? Because us as humans will connect with you because you are giving us music from your soul and not necessarily from what you're being told to do.
But also, people, I mean, the artists exist out there. The hip hop artists, they're alive and well, and they got pens, they got pens and microphones in front of their faces
100%.
and discussing hip hop to a point where it's like we're speaking about people who aren't hearing what we're saying or seeing what's happening.
Exactly.
It's like they must jump if they want to jump. You know what I'm saying? So the Oaks are there and they've got the talent. So if they want to get in there and make the music, they must make it, because you can't sit there and be like, who's dropping today? Who's out right now? When Drake is out, people take a step back because it's like Drake season. But now it's like, okay, but Drake and all these other guys are taking a step back. All the other guys who are willing and able must step up and say, oh, I'm going to be the guy who's going to actually still drop music and still drop hot music and still drop the music that I want. Whatever it is, I'm just going to continue working.
People need to keep working, but also we want the new kids to give us real music. We don't want to hear mumble raps because we don't understand you. Give us something that we can recite back. That's the whole point of hip hop. I want to rap back with you. So if I don't know what you're saying, how am I rapping back? I can't
be old now.
No.
In the 30s now, I'm trying to figure out the lingo. I'm like, what does this word mean in this song that's been just come out? Clearly, everybody else knows what this word is.
Yeah.
Going on.
It's time to retire, Sibo.
Like,
that's what it is.
It's me who doesn't know. So what's this new lingo? Dictionary that comes to be like, oh, this is what the kids mean.
Exactly.
That's why I stays on TikTok. Okay.
Yes. All right. So people who are fighting for their space in hip hop and trying to make sure that they own their music is Black Diamond. They have won themselves a case against Ambitious. Are they the first guys to actually go up against Ambitious and win?
I don't think the others actually win.
I think they're just wild on social media, and then that's kind of
and you just kind of give up, and cut your losses.
Twitter court gets bored very easily. You know what I'm saying? The real court though,
where the real money is.
They keep that shit pushing for you until there's an actual outcome. And heard about that whole Black Diamond situation, getting their music on. Ambitious want to put their music off DSPs and YouTube, and they want the case to
but
keep
labels
their music
do that.
on.
It's not just Ambitious, and I really feel like people need to understand that it's not just Ambitious. Not just Ambitious are the ones who are just taking music off. Yes, maybe they're getting the highlight because people are complaining and Ambitious is always the bad ones. Yeah. Every single label does this. The moment they drop in, they say, "Oh, our contract is over." Well, that means we're not paying for your music to be on DSPs anymore, and they'll pull your music. And it's the strangest thing as an artist, because you sit there and you're just like, but this thing has been up here for 5 years. Why all of a sudden now are you pulling it off? It's because the contract is over. That's what they do. And it's a very unfortunate thing. I remember it happened to AKA at some point as well, where some of his songs were taken off of YouTube, and he had to reload the music videos. It happens to everybody. It just depends on how loud you want to scream and how much noise you want to make on social media. These guys were just like, yo, we hear you, but we're going to go straight to court. And what do? They won. Big ups.
Because it can't be right for someone to sort of just do that with your music, right? Like, I
but
feel
it's
like
in the contract.
I get that. And I 100% understand that. And again, given and free. There also something has to be
said.
said.
And then he says we gave him that name. And then he says we gave him that name.
I'm with the shits now. I see Given's game.
It's very like there has to be some level of ethic, right? In terms of those things. I'm just saying, look, we worked with you, and there's no need to fight to that point where we're removing your music from being heard by people. Let's keep it there. Let's keep it. So it's nice to see them win a case like this. And I think, for all the other record labels and all the other music bosses out there, that becomes a thing and a lesson in terms of, look, let's find better and easier ways of sort of fighting these things, right? Obviously, back then they couldn't do it because it wasn't digital. It was CDs. They couldn't exactly come to our houses and grab the CDs.
Yeah.
But so with the with digital media and all of that, let's be cordial, man. Let's be able to discuss this and whatever. I know some artists are hotheads and they get into those meetings and it just blows up completely.
Not some, all.
Yeah. So it's like, let's all play it well so that we don't find ourselves in this situation to begin with.
The tricky thing about leaving it there from a contract perspective, and I'm playing devil's advocate for a reason, because I need people to understand that there's two sides to the story.
Yeah.
The tricky thing about leaving it up is that if the contract is over and you are fighting me about this, that, and the next thing, if you're leaving it up, you're basically saying that I'm now taking the royalties from this music. Because that's how the split is up, because you register who gets whatever percentage.
Yeah.
Do you understand that? And also you pay, I don't know, there's a certain fee that's also then paid to actually keep it up on those DSPs. So then they're just like, okay, well, why are we incurring a cost if it should be, I know you're fighting for your music back, our contract is over. Take your music back, I don't want to incur this cost. Because then I must also now find a way to then pay you from my money about the royalties. It becomes a whole back office type of conversation.
Did they take the music, so they take the music off, but are they still giving me the rights to the music for me to load it up then?
I think that's probably part of the dispute.
It's probably part of the fight,
And my thing about it is that, yes, contracts are contracts, and nothing will make you as an artist wake up and stop thinking with your heart and with your head than the label starting to dribble you and you finding out what the music business is really about. You know what I'm saying? We see it every single week, and artists is like, what is actually going on? What did I sign? And what I like about this case, right, is that contracts, signatures, both sides, no problem. But these things can be fought in court. You know what I'm saying? There's things that exist in contracts that you could find in they'll be like, oh, there's something we can fight about here, because they actually shouldn't be able to say this or shouldn't be able to do this based on A, B, and C.
100%.
So having proper legal representation means if there's something you want to fight in your in your contract, and you feel like it's worth fighting for you, speaking to a lawyer about everything in your contract. What can we
100%.
fight here? What can't we fight?
Yeah.
Because I'm very much for fighting back.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because labels are always going to look out for themselves, and they're going to take as much as they want from artists.
Yeah.
So if artists want to take a little bit of the power back, then they need a proper lawyer who will sit down and be like, hey man, I want to fight these guys back for some shit.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can fight for.
Yeah.
Because in the end, maybe you could end up renegotiating a contract and
Exactly.
saying, okay, I could take this and you could take that, and we could change splits or whatever it is. Because as I mentioned, people get tired in legal processes. People want it to be over, and big machines, of course, always have this corporate. Use corporate lawyers to continue to exhaust you, who doesn't have that much resources at the end.
Yeah, we also just need better laws to protect artists in general, right? Even with actors, like right now, there's people who were on Generations 10 years ago. It's now showing they're in Lagos and they're not getting anything from it. So those kind of things should be changed altogether. We need more protections for artists in this country for sure.
And that's why we just also need to make sure that artists can, like, somebody needs to create like a law firm that can represent artists to say, okay, I'm here, I know I'm expensive, but maybe there's a payment plan that you can come together with your lawyer. Something must happen, because if you don't understand the legal jargon, somebody needs to be there for you before you sign. And I know everybody just on a whim, oh, my life's gonna change, and you sign. No, you're signing your life away. Figure out what is being said there before you just sign it off. Because yes, everybody wants a big break, but at least make sure that you are protected in that same instance as well.
Also, you win the case with costs, so it costs them nothing. You know, Ambitious must still pay for their lawyers and everything. Because if someone has actually wronged you, that's what I'm saying. When a lawyer looks at your things, like, let me tell you something. Not only are we going to win there, you are going to pay us nothing, because they're going to pay us everything. That's how confident we are. You know what I mean? So there's that in your favor, but that takes you sitting down with real ass lawyers and actually figuring out a plan about where you actually feel like, nah, man, I was done wrong here. Yeah. Especially if maybe the verbal agreement that you can speak about and say, these things actually matter. When people tell you, no, we won't do this to you. And you can, that small thing can mean something in legal proceedings. No, I sat down with Given and we came to an agreement. And then the contract came and things were changed. That's not what we said how we're going to move forward.
That does matter.
Exactly. So verbal agreements also matter. Everything that was said in an email, this, that, and the third, all those things put together can be shown or go to these people actually were trying to rip you off the bat, because there's definitely a conversation that exists that started this way and that's not how it ended, and you were basically blindsided in some way, and then that could be something that you can fight for. That's what I'm saying. Fight back. People can tell you, yeah, you've signed your contract, and that's actually not that. There could be an opportunity for you to fight, and if you feel like you can, then we'll go for it.
Shout outs, man. And with that, we're going into some brand new music that dropped this past week. We do have, of course, we've already spoken about Ricky Rick Stronger, so you can go and check that out and, give us some of your views as well about whether you dig that song or not. We do have a new one from Casper Nyovest, Manu Worldstar, Cash CPT, and My Easy Does It with Lento. And as we were talking about our hip-hop stars, kind of needing to record more music, more vibes, it seems our guys are a little bit more emotional this past week, giving us some winter vibes, some soul songs. So that's the pocket we're jumping into right now. Let's kick it off with Casper Nyovest's song. It's called Soul. Do you dig the tune or what?
I'm not sure what to do with the... First, let me say it's not a great week for music. Clearly, that's what just come out. It was not the most spectacular week for the music that's coming out. You know what I'm saying? The hip hop oaks. Like I'm not sure what to do with this emotional Casper Sprite collaboration.
Why can't hip hop be emotional?
I'm not sure what to do with this one. You know what I'm saying? I think as an artist, Casper, who's been in industry for very long, you know what I'm saying, who has multiple albums, multiple songs, he has emotional songs. You know what I'm saying? In this song, like I said, there's nothing wrong with being emotional, and I don't think it's a horrible song. I just don't know what to do with it. I don't know where to judge Casper, because he's in studio recording an album. He's telling us that, hip hop is back and it's about to have a good time, and this is the song that comes out. It's like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So it's not matching the vibe of the guy and where he's at. Sometimes an artist goes quiet for a while, they come back and they give you those emotions. You kind of understand, you've been quiet because, maybe you might be going through it. Yeah. But he's being vulnerable, and like I said, I'm not trying to trash his emotions, but as a song, I can't imagine ever listening to it again for a reason. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what I would be doing if I was bumping the song. And that's like, I'm more looking forward to Casper's. I saw he was performing out there with Maglera on stage. Maybe they performed their new single at Zone 6, because he had that his annual party that he usually has. And then
it says Most Wanted,
Most Wanted, you know what I'm saying? And he's got an album coming out which he says, I'm back on my hip hop shit. So I'm looking forward to that, and I think there may be gems in that. And this as a single, like we said, is brand related. So I think he was just giving a brand something like, here's a nice little something just to make you feel something with Sprite. Yeah, I don't know.
Does it feel something? I don't know. I struggle as a music lover, over and above being a DJ, just as a music lover. I struggle a lot with brand songs. Yeah. And that's with all brand songs, not just with this one. It's all brand songs, because I understand what the brand is trying to do. I understand what the artist is also just trying to make a check. I understand how, from a business perspective, it makes sense. But from a music perspective, as a consumer, I struggle with them 100%, because like you're saying, the connection there's a disconnect. Something is not coming together. Something is not saying what. And a lot of the time the brand will say, this is what we're trying to achieve. You need to go into studio and give us this. And the artist is just like, I'm not connecting with this, but hey man, the brand wants what the brand wants. So let's do what the brand wants. And then you can get your check. And then that's also why maybe even the timing is off, because we are sitting back and we're watching him at SA's Most Wanted, and he's going wild on stage with this new song with Maglera, but that's not the one that's dropping, because the timeline for the brand is, we want the song to come out now. And then everybody else is confused, because they're just like, but what do you want from us at the stage of the game? So it's just awkward. And like I said, I get it from a business perspective. I understand why Casper would do something like this. I just don't relate to it as a consumer.
And I guess it's that thing, when you drop your first single in a while, we always, and you're saying you're changing, we're all like, ooh, anticipation, let's see what's going to happen, which is what happened with Doja last week. So you wanted to have impact. This, like you said, it doesn't really have that. It's just one of those, it's in the bag. I think even if it would be on one of Casper's albums, it's definitely like track 12 and,
I don't know. Maybe it's a personal opinion. Brands, I really feel like, yes, you can do collaborations with artists all the time. Sharp. Just not music.
Do jingles. Stick
You
to
know,
jingles.
yeah,
Brands
like
should do jingles and
adverts.
say Sprite. Because much people saying Sprite or something, and then
No,
just wrap
because
it
then
up.
you're gonna laugh at him if he does that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm just saying that's bad. Like it's like that ShopRite thing he did. With
no,
Dr.
and then you
Beleza.
laughed at him. Don't do that.
Yeah, but he took that money. But no one, everyone was like, I don't know what the hell that was, but let's keep it pushing.
But I
You
guess
know what I mean?
It's what you're saying is let's not pretend we're releasing music for the sake of music.
Yeah.
We're releasing music for the sake of a campaign.
Because
let's be clear on that.
Exactly, because the point of releasing a song is also to make money off of that song. I don't think there's gonna be money made from the song because people just don't get it. As opposed to a collaboration, which would make more sense, whether it's a social media campaign, it's a TV advert, it's maybe he goes on a road show. That I think is more money that is making more sense from collaboration with the artist than making a song in studio.
It's like what happened with Rihanna and the Black Panther song, for example.
Yes.
First single in many years, but it's
Everybody was just like,
Everyone-
no.
I was like, whoa, Rihanna, are you okay? That's the first thing I thought of this song. I pressed play. Casper's like, my heart is heavy. I said, no, don't have a heavy heart. It's Friday. I'm trying to chill.
Yeah. But and again, it's nothing against, the artist. We know there's hot
I love
music coming.
Casper.
We all do.
Yeah.
And we know there's hot music coming because people were whiling on social media about his performance when he performed his brand new song at SA's Most Wanted. So that's the song we want because that is the Casper that we know. You know what I mean? So I don't know. This song, it's a little bit of a miss for me, but we get it. Business-wise, get your check, my brother. That's what matters. All right, we do have a new song from Manu Worldstar. It's called Shege. He is going to be dropping an EP on the 8th of July. And yeah, man, this is, in the same spirit of Manu Worldstar and what he usually does, Afro beats type of soul type of songs. I think he's also trying to stay in this pocket because this is what works for him. I think when he tried the hip-hop thing and the rapping didn't really take off the way he wanted, so I think he's gonna now give us a more soulful type of project, especially with this song. So how are you doing it?
He is definitely in his bag with that sort of
Yeah.
genre.
Yeah.
This track is nice. It's a radio track.
Yep.
It's a summer type hit. I actually wish it was released in the summer. It's perfect for the summer. It's good music. I think he's on the money. I've always wondered with him because I've interacted with him a few times, done a few interviews with him. It just feels like he stays in the same place, and I'm ready for him to really sort of blow up to next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And I think about his last track or his biggest track, Maningi. And how
Nalingi.
Malingi.
Nah.
Nalingi, sorry.
Yeah.
And how dope that was as a jam for him and how all the wonderful things it did for him. It would be great to have followed up with something that's trying to take it even further and a little bit higher. But like I said, we do know that he has an album dropping first week of July. And this is just the first single. So maybe the rest of the album I think is going to have better songs because I feel like this one is the easy to remember radio hit. You know what I'm saying? It's got that repetitive shake it. So you kind of know where it's going. It's not bad. You're gonna remember it for sure. And if you think you're not gonna remember it after watching this, you definitely now for some reason gonna be saying shake it for no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So those radio dubs, and it's probably gonna play a lot on radio as well. It feels like
100%.
just one of those vibes. So yeah, the track is alright, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing where the growth is in the album.
Definitely. I also want to see a little bit more from Manu Worldstar, but I'm hoping this EP will definitely do that for him. Good vibes, good energy, but just, my brother, just, get to the next step so that you can elevate a little bit more.
Yeah.
But liking the song.
Just to cut you there, sorry. Is it his music thing or his management thing?
What do you
type
mean?
thing? Like, do they need to up their game to say how
Everybody
do we
in the
push
team
you
needs
better?
to everybody in the team needs to pull their weight because I think it becomes a team effort, understanding that the artist needs to go into the studio. He's pulling his weight by recording a hot song. If you don't record a hot song, I can't push a hot song.
100%.
You understand? So if you give me something that's fire, I can run the streets and be tireless, making sure that your song is on every radio station.
Yeah.
So I think everybody needs to play their part. If you feel like it is a management issue, then maybe they need to pull their socks up a little bit. However, I also feel like with this song, it's just nice for me. I also want him to also elevate himself in the studio and give me more. And that's why I'm saying take a step higher. I'm not saying this is a bad song. I really like it. I just want you to elevate yourself as an artist to then get to the next level.
100%.
Then we're speaking about A&R. If we're trying to sing about person's music, you can tell artists because artists across the board are always going to think whatever they made is hot. Regardless of what anyone thinks. If you leave an artist by themselves to record, whatever things are going to play for, you're going to be like, obviously I'm spitting, right?
Yeah.
So obviously my shit bangs, right? Because I feel like it because I wrote that shit, so I feel like it bangs. But if you have proper A&R, I can be like, yeah, sure, brother, it's banging, eh?
But let's add this.
If we put this feature here and we go we take this on, bring artists together with producers and composers and songwriters. Then you elevate already existing talent into like really, really dope songs and dope music. So if there's any management issue, we'll tell when we listen to the entire body of work. What was the plan?
I think sometimes it's just going back to the drawing board. Sometimes it's like, okay, this strategy is sort of not working. Let's see what we're doing. I think people don't understand, for example, how Kelly Rowland was way bigger than Beyonce after Destiny's Child when she did Dilemma with Nelly, right? Big. And everyone was like, oh, Kelly's gonna be the breakout star, whatever. And then Beyonce was obviously sitting back there like, well, but what I'm saying is that it's always a strategy thing. Exactly, it's always a strategy thing.
100%. All right, so up next we also have my Easy Does It. He's got a tune called Lento. He's also feeling very vulnerable in the song, speaking from the heart. What do you think of the Township Councillor's brand new tune?
It's another track I wasn't expecting. You know what I'm saying? Right now from the big Grootman is, I don't know, I would like him to have a little bit more fun. I feel like he's done everything he needs to do. You know what I mean? So I'm wondering where he wants to take this track to as well. When I listen to it, I'm like, what is this for? Is this for radio? Is this just for the fans? Just to bump? Is it... Like, what is the use of a track like this from a guy who's kind of like chilling in the cut a little bit? You know what I'm saying? Especially because he just left. He's not with Cash Time anymore. He's now doing his own thing. He's not with Kanda anymore, rather. So he's doing his own thing. So I think maybe it might take us a while to find out what his own thing actually sounds like and what it is to him. Because the track is not bad, like I said, but I definitely would like to hear him on something a little bit more lively. You know what I'm saying?
I think a lot of these artists, especially the songs that have been released this past week, I think they're also reading the room in the sense that it's winter. So more chilled vibe, because artists also want to be emotional. They also want to at least give you something from the heart to say, you know what, this is the time when you want to hear a song like this, so let me drop this now, and then maybe I'll give you the summer banger in August or September, and then we can take it to the top until December.
But make it memorable. Like going to studios, like I want a song that people are actually going to be like get attached to.
Like Tupac's music is emotional.
There's lots of emotion. I mean, Drake is always crying on every track, but it doesn't matter whether it's summer, winter, spring, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You can press play at any given time. Even if you was to drop something right now and say, oh, this is something for the winter. I know it's summer for them, but like, let's just play it that way. If he was dropping something and say, I'll be back in the summer with like a big banger, then that would still bang. So my thing about it is make a track that we're going to remember, man.
Be emotional, but it must be nice.
Yeah.
I think for him, it's what happens is we also have we're in our profession, right? Artists in general, so musicians and us, like in presenting and this and whatever, we have an expiry date. At some point, you have to start thinking reinvention, whatever, because you're getting older, you're not as young, right? For actors are the only people who can act until you're 83 or whatever. Yeah. So for us, I think he's also having that moment now of sort of, what's my next thing? What's the next step? What do I do next? How do I move? And that becomes a thing. And sometimes that thing is not necessarily releasing music. Sometimes it's maybe business or this.
Like I said, go back to acting. Firstly, I haven't mentioned about the song. I actually dig the song. Because I've noticed like a softer side to my Easy Does It. Yes, I don't think it's like world banger right now, but I think I understand the message he was trying to portray with the specific song. But when we did do a pop radio episode with him, I did mention to him that I really think he needs to get back into acting, because he was an actor before he got into music, and I think he could really kill it and reinvent himself if he were to do that. But I don't know, it's just it's just me saying what I believe, and he can also then decide what he wants to or what speaks to him as well. So I don't know, we'll figure it out for the artist. He'll see what he does with himself.
It's a great idea.
The last song that we have is Cash CPT with a track called Slide, also very emotional, smooth sounds on this one. What do you think from the brother from Cape Town?
Please, Slide is right up my alley.
Of
yes. I think he's the youngest of the artists we've mentioned here, right?
Yes.
So obviously there's still that hunger, there's that energy, there's that space. The ideas are new. I think people take for granted for artists, you run out of creativity at some point. Like you first album, second album, third album, by the time you get to the fifth album, it's a little tough. So he's younger, he's the world's his oyster, and I think that's probably why that's also coming out with the energy. I think obviously from a genre perspective, it's definitely my vibe, so that's why I love it so much. But yeah, all in all, clean track.
I loved it too. As soon as I press play on the track, and I like to bounce music, I listened to it myself for a while, but then I started bumping it for other people just to get an opinion, because I'll be like, I want to be like in a silo, and maybe I'm thinking too much and I must be critical all the time or whatever, and that's not how I try to be. So I was bumping this, and sometimes like I can tell, I always watch my girlfriend's reaction to certain things. I won't tell her what I'm bumping music for the sake of, you know what I'm saying, or just because I want to hear what's new out, and maybe I might have to comment on it. So I just play it anyway, and this is one of those songs that I played and she came out of nowhere, just from the, whose song is this? You know what I'm saying? It's like, are you still listening to your playlist, or is it like, is this like American track? You know what I'm saying? Because it has that vibe about it, and like off the bat I can tell tracks like that get even other people excited, because I'm just in my own emotions. Uguti Cash CPT as a very dope jam going for him there, and that's what we're talking about. We've spoken all songs we've mentioned today all are pretty emotional songs, but here's one that actually stands out doing it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Doing right in terms of the moment also.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what's the hot genre today. That's the hot genre of hip hop and sort of a trap soul-y vibe going there.
Exactly.
And that's why I think we then hear it much better than the others, where the other tracks sound a bit old school as well.
Yeah, man. I dig the song as well. I do. I like the pocket that he's kind of jumped in for this specific song, because he can also be very trappy. So it's nice to kind of hear like a softer side to him. It's not that he hasn't done it before, but he really knows how to balance it out in this one, where he can still sound a bit hard, but also sound very soft and vulnerable and very perfect for the moment and the energy that's being put out right now. So big ups to Cash CPT for that one with the track called Slide. And with that, we are now at the end of the show. We do have to say our thank yous to Given Winfrey, aka Given Baloy, for joining us today. Given, where else are you going to be killing it? What else can we look forward to? Because I mean, you're a reality star now. You've got the breakaway notes. What else are you working on that we can follow through on your social media?
No, I mean 100% with the breakaway note. A lot of people are asking for it to be longer than what it is. So just outside of radio, when it comes to that sort of content, for me, it's very important to me to have like inspirational and motivational stuff. So I'm definitely going to be pushing a lot more of that. Just watch these streets, see what's going to happen. Yes. We just wrapped the final episode of the reality TV show on BET last week. It's still on catch up, so you can still watch.
Yes. And you had a very special last episode as well.
Yeah, 100%.
So people need to go and check that out.
Yeah, they had to, and then hopefully there'll be a season 2.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're on Metro FM weekdays, 9 to 12, and that's it.
Yeah, shout outs, man.
Shout out. Thank you for joining us.
And a big thanks also to our venue for today, Vibes on Main. As we mentioned, do come through, come check it out. It is a brand new venue for you to, come through, have a good time with your people. And it's daytime vibes as well. They close very early. They close at 1 a.m. if I'm not mistaken. So, make sure that you come early, look pretty before you come through for here. And sundowner vibes. The view is also amazing. Stunning. The skyline, if you actually come stand on the one patio, you can actually see the skyline of Johannesburg as the sun sets. Oh, it's just beautiful. So come through, come check it out, Vibes on Main, and come support the brother, man, Mr. Jesse Q. Thank you, Jesse Q. You're doing the things, my brother. And with that, we want to love you and leave you. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share, and let us know exactly how you're vibing with the episode for this week. And of course, we will catch you again next week with a hot episode of Pop Radio.
Yeah.